Okay, well, earlier today we heard from a couple of heard from lots of speakers today, but I wanted to draw attention to two speakers who made a couple of points. Maureen Murphy made the point that this is a social equity issue. It's a social equity issue that governments don't give a stuff about working class communities. And that's why this line has languished for so many years. Governments have not given a stuff about working class communities. If this was a very wealthy community in the north, something would have been done about this train line years ago. And so I'd like to acknowledge we're standing on Aboriginal land in that context of a community, the Aboriginal community, that has been dispossessed and robbed of its land and is suffering from equity aspects as well as being oppressed as a people, this land is stolen land. I also would like to thank members of the Muslim community who've come out today, because there are extra prayers and things happening in mosques because we had these terrible events yesterday. But we have some strong support for this campaign from the Muslim community, and I think that's very important. And what this shows is, if you want to resolve issues in society, you have to have a united campaign. It's like on workers' picket lines. You pretty quickly work out if you're serious about winning, you have to unite regardless of your religion, your race, your gender, your age, whether you're a skilled worker, unskilled worker, all of the myriad of issues that bosses use to divide and rule. You have to be united. So I think this campaign will win if we remain united, if we keep the communities from the top of the line to the bottom of the line, and all of the variety of people who make up in the various communities. If we have a united campaign for a solution that benefits everybody, then I think that will be a fantastic thing. We will win. I'm confident we can win the duplication of this line. But it will require some effort, and we will have to keep on mobilising after today. Then the other point which Pauline Galvin made is that if her family lived in Fawkner, they would probably have to have 2 or 3 cars rather than the 1 car they've got at the moment where there's public transport available. And at the moment there is an argument that's put around that the reason people drive is, just because they're lazy or whatever. But the problem is the lack of access to public transport. We have to fight for an alternative that people can use. At the moment, if you apply for a job in Campbellfield, you won't get it if you admit that you don't own a car. So we actually need the alternative before people can give up cars. So that's why this is such an important fight. Now, there are other public transport fights that are also important across Melbourne as well. So we're not the only community that's suffering, but this is a really important fight. And leafletting for this rally along the Upfield line during the last week, there's probably 3 little anecdotes, maybe 4 actually, to give people, which gives you an idea of the struggle people have to access public transport. First one, Gowrie Station. There's a man who drives here from Mickleham every day to catch the train. The reason why there's no train station in Mickleham, Donnybrook and Craigieburn are the closest stations, and the station car parks are full by 6 a.m. People from Wallan, which is now like a suburb of Melbourne, are driving down to Wallan and from Wallan to Craigieburn, totally overcrowding the system, trying to access public transport and get to work. I met a woman at Fawkner Station who drives from Craigieburn every day for the same reason. Station car parks full by 6 a.m. She lives a long way from the station. And basically the buses are, virtually non-existent. Then I met a woman at Brunswick Station. She used to live on the Craigieburn line, further out. I'm not quite sure which suburb she was in, but a lot further out. She moved to Brunswick to try and be close to work, short travel times to get to work and get home from work, so she could pick up the kids from childcare. But it takes her half an hour longer to get home on the Upfield line, a shorter distance to Brunswick, than it did when she lived in wherever she lived along the Craigieburn line. So, I mean, that's an example. Then another story from Faulkner, a woman who, this is not a train story but a public transport story. Her child is disabled. She's got an NDIS carer who's a student who doesn't own a car, who catches public transport to be a carer for her daughter, but then to get home she has to organise an Uber or a taxi. Which she probably, if you think of NDIS carers earn crap money, they earn hardly anything for the work they do, and she has to spend part of that money on an Uber. I mean, it probably covers almost half of her hourly wage. So it's this is a crazy situation. But I think we can win, and I think we have the precedent of the people in Mernda. Now, admittedly, it was a marginal seat, or is a marginal seat, I think, but they had a campaign to bring forward the extension of the line to Mernda, and they brought it forward by 10 years. So I think that's a critical thing with this line, is it is on the list to be duplicated in 15 years, or maybe longer, but the critical thing is we need this brought forward. So Moreland Council has had a position on its books for many years, and so is Hume Council, saying that they support the duplication of the line, but they haven't been doing anything to enact that resolution. They've been doing nothing. And actually, I should acknowledge, one of the other councillors, Mark Riley, who's Deputy Mayor, is here today. And Moreland Council did pass a motion unanimously, which is great because it means across party lines, to support this campaign and call for not just some tokenistic, sometime in the future, duplication of the line, but bring it forward now. Our preference in this campaign is for the line to be duplicated in at the same time that level crossings are removed, so that there's only one lot of duplication on the line. But the critical thing is it has to be done by the time the metro tunnel is finished, because if it's not done by then, we'll only get marginal improvement from the metro tunnel. The metro tunnel won't do very much. And there is also a view that maybe we could just have extra trains going to Coburg to maybe speed things up for people in the southern part of the line. I think that's a problem as well, because we need a united solution for everybody who lives along the line. We have to, people in the north everyone along the line is suffering, but people in the north are suffering the worst. But also, even adding extra trains just going to Coburg wouldn't resolve the situation. Train drivers tell me that all that would do is trains would be banked up at Moreland Station waiting for the train to come back from Coburg. So that's not even a solution for people in the southern part of the line. So I think we need to drop that idea and fight to bring the duplication of the line forward. I think we can only achieve that with community power, and if we keep on going and make this bigger and bigger crowd of people so that the politicians feel the pressure. And I think we can also see with this massive student strike yesterday and last year that because that movement has been off the streets for some time, they've been doing work and they've been blockading in Queensland and so forth, but the climate movement hasn't really been on the streets so much lately. It used to be on the streets. And so I think the students have given us a wake-up call that if you want to get attention, you have to mobilise massive layers of people, and one of those things you need to do is come out on the streets and show your anger with the issue. And so at the moment, we'll have a meeting. Actually, I don't know if the leaflets got handed out. We've got the next meeting of this group is not going to be until the 11th of April, Thursday the 11th of April, in the Coburg Courthouse. We'll get a Facebook event up, but if anyone's not on Facebook, come and grab a leaflet. We do need to involve more people in the organising of the campaign, but also if you can't come to meetings, there's still plenty of roles you can do to help build the campaign. And I also think if we win this campaign, that will give people so much confidence to fight for their rights on all sorts of different issues, and that's also the best way of fighting against racism as well, because we can only win these issues with a united people's campaign, and we need to rip away some of the money from these private corporations that governments like to fund, like John Holland and all of these various road construction companies. There's no reason why the federal government couldn't fund public transport. They fund lots of roads in Victoria and all over the country, but we need them to fund public transport as well, in addition to the state government. And we did have a successful campaign that people in Moreland were involved in, and some of the people here were part of that campaign, and that was to stop the East-West link. And we won that campaign through on-the-street action, and not just accepting, smooth promises from politicians. We basically forced politicians to say that they would rip up the contracts on that East-West link, and that was our rallying call, and we actually won that campaign. And I think we want to win this campaign, but the critical thing is not just duplication of the line sometime in the future when we're all dead, or the kids are graduated from school, but we want it to happen now, at the very least by the time the Metro Tunnel is finished. And I think we can show people power, and this is a great rally to have today in Fawkner. I think my idea, but other people in the campaign might have other ideas, is we organise actions coming down the line in every community, in Merlinson, in Coburg, in Brunswick, and various other spots as well. And we'll probably organise a public meeting, but anyway, people might have other ideas about what to do. But I think it's a really important that we keep on going and build this campaign much, much bigger.